Limitless Wrestling fans. Another edition of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast on location, so we apologize not for the best audio quality, but we're making do, trying to get you guys an episode. It's been a couple weeks. We want to catch up. John Alba here with the czar of Limitless Wrestling, Randy Carver. Randy, what's going on?
What's going on, man? Excited to be back. It has been a couple weeks, but we've both been pretty busy.
Yeah, to say the least. You know, I've been doing a lot of traveling lately because for some reason, for some godforsaken reason, I ended up back in Bangor, Maine for a little less than 24 hours.
Who knows why that was?
It was an experience that we will talk about in just a little bit. But first, let's catch you up on everything that's going on. We've got some Limitless news, and the crux of this episode will be about Let's Wrestle and the recent show Curl of the Burl that took place at the end of May. But let's start with Limitless Wrestling. It is returning to Biddeford Saturday, January 22nd and Sunday, June 23rd for some free shows. What's going on?
Yeah, so we were at the Locker Mess Festival a couple years ago, if anybody remembers our first events in Biddeford. But we're coming back Saturday, June 22nd, Sunday, June 23rd. The show times are listed on the event page and on our website as well, but 6:30 to 8:30 on the Saturday, and then 2 to 4 p.m., a little afternoon show on the Sunday. These are some fun ones that we get to do. The festival season is coming around, so the fairs and festivals that we do, it's a really cool mix of talent that we get to work with on these shows, because there's a lot of talent that we don't necessarily get to work with normally on Limitless shows. So you're going to see a mix of the Limitless roster, a mix of the Let's Wrestle roster, and there's also some debuts mixed in there. So very excited for that. A full talent list for both days has been announced as well. It's on the event page on facebook.com/Limitless Wrestling. But I can tell you the main event for night one, Jeremy Leary and Skyler will team up against Danger Kid and Aiden Agro of the Maine State Posse. So a little rivalry renewed in the main event of night one. But if you do want to follow everything that is to do with the Locker Mess Festival and the wrestling there, definitely head over to the event page, and we're going to have match announcements coming this week.
So you're giving Jeremy Leary and Skyler another shot here, despite their new attitudes that you're not too much of a fan of?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the attitudes, I can't take away that, Skyler just defeated, one of the most popular female wrestlers of the past 10 to 20 years, Victoria. So that's a pretty big bragging right for Skyler. And Jeremy Leary has, he's been scratching and clawing, and by scratching and clawing, I mean tweeting me, some not nice stuff on Twitter to be on these Limitless shows again. So this is a good opportunity for him, man. MSP is really hot right now as a tag team, and they get the chance to knock them off, and they can really prove themselves as a legit force in Limitless Wrestling that night if they can get the win.
What's different for fans getting to check out these fair shows?
Well, first of all, they are a little different from the normal Limitless experience, because these are, it is a family-friendly festival, so the shows are family-friendly. So it's not going to be as raw and as vulgar and as, I don't want to say as crazy, because it will be as crazy, but it's not going to be as raw and vulgar as a normal Limitless show would be. So this is a cool experience. Like if you want to take the kids to a Limitless show where, maybe at sometimes you're not 100% certain because you don't want them hearing fuck, 60 times throughout a night. But this is a time to take them to a show like this. A lot of fun characters on these shows. And for regular Limitless Wrestling fans, this really gives an opportunity to see a lot of new talent and a lot of talent that you may have seen in Limitless and Let's Wrestle in new situations. So just some new matches, some fresh matches. And then the coolest thing is after these shows, we can really, because Biddeford is not far from, where we usually run. It's about 25 minutes from Portland tops. So I do think we'll have a very good Limitless presence there, just like we did 2 years ago. So it'll be cool. We can kind of do a poll and maybe talk about it on the podcast the week after those shows and see who people liked, who they didn't like, and what matches they liked out of the weekend.
You said some Let's Wrestle talent. What kind of Let's Wrestle talent are we going to see there? Because that's got to be a big step up for a couple of these guys and girls.
Yeah, so we'll be seeing Let's Wrestle champion Calvin Strange. He'll actually be making his first two. Well, I say two if he can retain after night one. He'll be making a couple Let's Wrestle championship defenses. He's already put that out there that he'd like to put an open contract out there for the entire weekend. So anyone who wants to step up.
Calvin Strange.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So whoever wants to step up and face Calvin Strange, there's an open contract on the table. Former Let's Wrestle champion Davey N will be in attendance. The prize, Alec Price, CJ Cruz. I believe Mike McCarthy will be there for night 2. So there'll be a lot of familiar faces for the fans of Let's Wrestle.
There you go. So good chance there. And for more information, where can they head to?
So we'll have a full briefing on the Limitless Wrestling website probably by the time this is up. But for ticketing information, for parking information, for anything about the festival whatsoever, you can go to LaCermesseFestival.com. We have the website listed right on our Facebook page under the La Kermesse Limitless event page. So if you want to just head over to our Facebook, check the event page, the link for their website is right there.
Again, those 2 dates coming up later this month, June 22nd and June 23rd. A Saturday and a Sunday, so good way to spend your weekend. Get some pro wrestling fun in and check out the stars of Limitless Wrestling and Let's Wrestle. But the Limitless Wrestling show that we all got our eyes on, the Vacationland Cup. We are a month away, July 12th, Friday night in Portland, Maine at the Portland Club. The 2019 Vacationland Cup. We are approaching around 100 tickets remaining. So those tickets will be gone by the night of the show. Get yours now, limitlesswrestling.com. And since we last spoke, we've had a couple match announcements.
Yes, we have. For anyone who was there at Hooked on a Freedman, they knew this one was coming anyways, but we did announce that the first round match for the Vacationland Cup has been set. It'll be the top talent, Christian Casanova, former member of the Dream Team, going one-on-one with Kevin Blackwood in his Limitless Wrestling, not only his Limitless Wrestling, but his professional wrestling return after the nasty accident that him and the Buffalo Crew were in at the beginning of the year. So very, very excited for that one. Kevin Blackwood, it's been a long time for him out of the ring, so I know he's looking forward to it. A lot of friends and family for Kevin coming up all the way up from upstate New York to come check out this match, which is really cool. I know it means a lot to him, and it would mean a lot. You know, this could be a pivotal point in the career of Kevin Blackwood because he can go from, 6 months on the shelf to being the number one contender for the Limitless Wrestling Championship in one night. So that could be huge for him. Also just announced last year's winner of the 2018 Vacationland Cup Pro Wrestling Series, one-on-one with what I consider to be the biggest wild card in this tournament so far, Eli Everfly, one of California's craziest wrestlers, and he's really come to be a fan favorite when he's here in Limitless Wrestling, puts on a crazy performance each time, but this is really the chance for Eli Everfly to establish himself as a real primetime player here in Limitless Wrestling. He's been kind of one of these guys who comes in and out. He's on every other show, so to speak, and really this can be the time, a win over JT Dunn and then getting to the finals and maybe winning the finals can really put him in a huge position for Limitless Wrestling moving forward this year.
No doubt about that. Randy cut out there, guys, but he said JT Dunn versus Eli Everfly. So, again, huge matchup there. And Eli Everfly is the kind of guy, I don't want to call it an upset because he's super talented, but I think in the eyes of many in Limitless Wrestling, if Eli Everfly were to pull off a win there, it would be considered an upset, and he's very much capable of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, he is the Miz Killer, but I do think it would be an upset just because JT Dunn's resume in Limitless Wrestling really speaks for itself. I mean, we've said it time and time again, but he holds pinfall victories over some of the best professional wrestlers in the world inside a Limitless Wrestling ring. You look at Cody Rhodes, Jonathan Gresham, the list goes on and on. And especially recently, the big Fatal 4-Way win where I think a lot of people were kind of doubting JT Dunn heading into the Vacationland Cup qualifier. He gets the job done, and now his sights are set on former Kings. Well, I don't want to say former Kings member because MJF still believes he's the king of Limitless Wrestling, but former ally MJF. All sights are set on MJF for JT Dunn.
And hey, I recall seeing Eli Everfly at the Portland Club facing Brody King, and they had an absolute banger of a match.
That was a wild one.
So I anticipate nothing less from these two. Plus, Sean Spears making his Limitless Wrestling debut.
Yeah, the list goes on and on from there, too. The Perfect 10, Sean Spears making his debut, much anticipated debut, and I think he's one of the hottest free agents on the market right now. Ace Romero, the Workhorseman, Chris Statlander, Leon Ruff, Ashley Vox, Skyler, tons more already announced for this card. As you said, we are approaching about 100 tickets left, so get yours if you want them, limitlesswrestling.com. This show will sell out because we are at a limited capacity because we are in the Portland Club, but definitely stay tuned, because we've had some meetings lately with a couple places where the capacity would not be nearly as limited, and we might have an announcement at the Vacationland Cup. So stay tuned.
There you go. Feels like it's been a while since we've seen the Workhorsemen.
It's been a while, yeah, and they've been like super busy, which is fucking great for them, because James Drake and Anthony Henry really have branched out since becoming constants at Evolve, which is awesome for them. They've gone to Germany for WXW, so a lot of cool things in motion for them. So I'm very happy to get them back before their schedule ultimately is going to pick up even more. So happy to get them back.
Let's talk about YouTube. What's been going on with the Limitless YouTube?
Well, as of the time of recording, which is Tuesday, 4:27 p.m. for anybody wondering, we are at 399,000 subscribers on youtube.com/Limitless Wrestling, which is fucking bizarre to say. And I think by the end of today, we're going to hit 400,000, if not today, tomorrow. So first and foremost, I really want to thank anybody who's checked out Limitless Wrestling and shared the content and really just grown this channel, because what a lot of people don't realize is youtube.com/Limitless Wrestling really does help us expand as a company. As recently as yesterday, revenue from YouTube is now, going to purchase us a lot of new aesthetically pleasing stuff for the ring. So be looking for that pretty soon. It also helps us a lot with promotion, because we've, especially over the past couple months, we've really been able to expand our avenues of promotion.
You got to give us a little tease here. You can't just say that. You got to give us a little more. What are you talking about?
See, I would love to tell you a ton more, John, but fuck, man. I know how weird it is when you order shit, especially in wrestling. I want to say it when I can guarantee it's going to be there for the next show. And I just can't do that, because with this is something I've never talked about, I don't think, on this podcast, but the Limitless Wrestling Championship did not fucking arrive until the night before.
I did know
that. Before the show. Did we talk about that?
You and I talked about it, but not the audience.
The day before the fucking show, I was shitting bricks, and it just goes to show, and it just feels that way with everything in the wrestling business, whether it's wrestling gear or stuff for the ring, anything like that. It does take a while, just because it is really it's really specific stuff. So definitely just be looking for it soon. We're making a lot of improvements to just become more aesthetically pleasing, and hopefully just providing a better viewership experience for not only the fans in attendance, but the people who do watch on a YouTube or independentwrestling.tv or a DVD, anything like that.
And once we get 400K, I hear there's going to be a little match dropping.
Yeah, so if it hasn't already dropped by the time that this drops, definitely go over and check it out. We're going to drop the Limitless Wrestling Championship match, the inaugural championship match between JT Dunn, Ace Romero, Anthony Green, and Maxwell Jacob Friedman from Welcome to the Dance, which is
a war.
Yes, in my opinion, one of the best matches in Limitless Wrestling history. So definitely be on the lookout for that. If you haven't seen it yet, I would definitely say it's a must-watch.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Get your tickets now for the Vacationland Cup, limitlesswrestling.com, and subscribe to Limitless Wrestling, youtube.com/Limitless Wrestling. Let's wrestle now.
Let's do it.
This was a really fun show, and I got to see it in person, and I was so happy I got to see it in person. This was Volume 7, if I'm not mistaken, of Let's Wrestle, correct?
Volume 7.
Curl of the Burl. What were your impressions of the show?
I really enjoyed the show, top to bottom. I think there were a lot of good matches. I was actually surprised at how, enthralled the crowd was with certain matches, and we'll dive into it more. But the Drifters tag being one of them, Mac Daniels and Aggro being another. The crowd was just really there for everything on this night, which is exactly what you hope for out of a crowd. It was a really good crowd. And in the summertime, you can attest, Orono is kind of tough. Because college is out, not the population of Orono goes extremely down. But a very, very good crowd there that night. They were fucking into everything going on. And I think there were a lot of really good matches from a lot of really talented people.
Well, you made a bit of an unconventional start to this show. You opened with the Cluster Jam, and it was Danger Kid picking up the big win over Tom Hawk, Frank Yeager, Alexander Lee, and Scotty Wilde. They did some crazy stuff out of the gate here.
Yeah, and I figured that they would. It's kind of neat to get Scott Wilde and Danger Kid back in a ring together. And for that matter, same with Scott Wilde and Alexander Lee, because back in the day, 4 years ago when Danger Kid's just starting wrestling, a lot of his first, higher profile matches were against Scott Wilde. And I say higher profile as in Danger Kid wrestling someone who's, out of his skill set, so to speak. And Scott Wilde was always that guy. He was kind of the guy hanging around Maine at that time. He'd be the guy wrestling the guys on the come up and would really, get them into a position where they could start having good matches. So really cool to get them in the ring together again. Really good showing from Tomahawk here. And as you said, Danger Kid picking up the win. We saw some friction between him and Alexander Lee. We saw a gnarly Scotty Wilde looking for the lion salt. Alexander Lee connecting with a headbutt, nearly knocked him out. But some really cool shit in this match. This is another one, once it drops, I would definitely say to check out because I'm a big fan of the cluster jams anyway. But really fun one. I think a really fun way to start off the show.
Even though I'm not a big personal fan of Frank Yeager, he does seem to be connecting with that Let's Wrestle crowd.
Yeah, Frank Yeager, he's got quite the fan base in the Central Maine area, and he's coming along. I think this one, a cluster jam for him was quite overwhelming. There was a lot of shit going on in this match that I don't think, like, Frank Yeager, I think a lot of people forget sometimes. He's probably only had like 20 to 25 matches tops. So this is a pretty big position for him to be in, with the guys he's in the ring with. And but I think he held his own. He did a fine job, and we'll get to it in a second. But I'm very excited to see what he's going to do in his match on, what is it, July 20th? Yeah, too many dates coming up, man. Wow.
Yeah, why don't we haven't even talked about that? Go ahead, tell everyone when the next Let's Wrestle show is.
Yeah. So Saturday, July 20th. We're going to be right back in Orono for Volume 8. It's actually the 1-year anniversary of Let's Wrestle, which seems bizarre to say because it literally seems like yesterday that we started running these Let's Wrestle shows. So we're going to celebrate in style. A lot of really cool matches that are going to be announced for this one. And we'll talk about the main event for that show a little later on because, we haven't got there yet. But a really fun main event on that show. And we're going to transition to what Frank Yeager is going to do on that show right now.
Yeah, well, the Stigma, Eric Johnson and Brandino Davis, decided that they were going to go to battle with the Dirty Drifters. These Dirty Drifters, well, they're dirty. They don't look clean.
They fucking smell.
They do smell. They don't take care of themselves. They're clumsy. No. But somehow, some way, that was the perfect cocktail for a win because the Dirty Drifters picked up a win, and the crowd loved every second of this match.
It was like the glass shattered and Stone Cold was coming out when that 3 count hit. It was unbelievable.
I would never have believed it. I would have never thunk it. But somehow, some way, the Dirty Drifters might have been the most popular people in the building.
Yeah, and this is one that's really cool because, first of all, Ike the Bite is a dude who's been coming around not only Let's Wrestle shows but Limitless shows for, I would say, the better part of 2 years and has just been helping out. Looking for any avenues to maybe get on shows. And he's like been the perfect example of someone who's really put in the time to earn a spot. You know what I mean? And this is something that came very organically actually out of a studio taping that we did in April. A lot of those studio tapings come together, the day of the show. There's not a lot of determined matches going in there. And that was the case with the last studio taping. And we had Jacob Drifter, Ike the Bite, and then Buddy Costa and Cam Stewart. So we ended up putting a tag match together with that. We called Ike and Jacob the Dirty Drifters, and it was absolutely fucking hilarious. It was gold right off the bat. And then we had the Dirt Dog, Doug Weiser, who, along with Jacob, is a Limitless Dojo student. It all just came together very well.
Did he just find his lucha mask in the trash or something?
Well, he found half of it. He had to duct tape it together. I don't know if you've seen that thing. Yeah. It's pretty gnarly, but really cool. A couple students and Ike the Bite, and just the chemistry that they have already as a little trio, and picking up the win against the Stigma. I think all signs are pointing to good things for the Dirty Drifters, and all signs are probably pointing to a return for the Dirty Drifters in Let's Wrestle after a big win.
There was a tabletop spot in this match, several actually, and the finish came with a triple tabletop.
Yeah. Eric had Ike the Bite and Doug Weiser. Caught him, body slam position. I think he was looking for Jacob Drifter. Unfortunately, Jacob tabletops him, and they all pile on top and get the win.
That's like out of a Charlie Chaplin film.
Yeah. It's amazing stuff, man. I don't know if the Drifters are into like Chaplin. I don't even know if they have fucking television, but they've been watching something. They've been getting it done.
That was wild. And the crowd loved every minute of it. So you're telling me right here on the Limitless Wrestling Podcast, we can expect to see the Dirty Drifters again in Let's Wrestle?
Yeah, I would absolutely assume so. I mean, they just beat Eric Johnson and Brandino Davis, who have both been, forces in their own right in Let's Wrestle since the very beginning. So after a win like that, I don't think I can deny them another spot on a show.
Eric Johnson's got to be a little humbled by a loss like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know if humbled is the right word. I think he's just pissed. I think he's, and from the start, like I can understand some of the gripes that he does put forth. He does get a lot of the bad rep for how bad Maine wrestling was before we came around. I don't say that to blow smoke up our own ass, but we've done a lot of fucking work for this state. So, Maine wrestling was in a bad place, and I think he gets a lot of the rap for making it bad when in reality it was not all, his fault. He kind of walked into a shitty situation too and just tried to keep it alive, so to speak. But I think his gripes are with a lot of the kids who are coming up, not necessarily through the Limitless Dojo, but even guys on this Let's Wrestle show who just maybe they don't respect Eric the same way that they do other competitors. And I think he just realizes that. And I think he distances himself from the locker room and, stays in his corner. And I don't know. He's in a weird place right now.
Hey, listen, I worked for Eric. I'll say this. I think Eric's a pretty creative person, and, he's worked for some good promotions out there, and, I know he gets a bad rep sometimes, but I don't really have anything bad to say about him. So I enjoyed working for Eric, but he's got to look out here because can't have this happen.
He's got to look out because he's just getting into his own head, and now he's lost to the Dirty Drifters. Like that's a couple steps down from where we saw Eric Johnson a few months ago in Let's Wrestle.
Yes, it is. Alec Price defeated CJ Cruz. I was not in the audience or presence of the audience for this match, but I heard rave reviews about this match.
Yeah, this is a really good one, and I think that was to be expected. Alec Price has been a low-key MVP of Let's Wrestle throughout the past, I want to say, like 6 months. He debuted at the Rumble in January, and since then has just been really putting on bangers, whether it's in Let's Wrestle, whether it's the Limitless studio tapings, wherever it is. And CJ Cruz is another one of those guys who's been kind of blooming into a low-key star for Let's Wrestle. A lot of impressive performances, especially had a real good one with Danger Kid at the Cross Center a couple of weeks ago. But unfortunately, CJ Cruz couldn't get the job done. Alec Price walking out with a win and really, padding his resume in Let's Wrestle, because I think Alec Price, all signs point to him at least being in the consideration for a title match soon. He's had wins upon win upon win, so it's got to be coming soon for Alec Price. Unfortunately, on this night, it was at the expense of CJ Cruz as he picks up a win. But, Alec Price consistently moving up the ranks in Let's Wrestle. We're going to see him on those Limitless shows coming up in a few weeks in Biddeford. So a lot of the Limitless fans will be able to get a taste of Alec Price as well and see what they think.
You finally got to do the Anthony Green and Ava Everett match. They defeated DL Hurst and Brett Domino. And always great to see AG. He's one of my favorites out there in all of independent wrestling. And they had a match that crowd was super into, and just another moment where DL Hurst and Brett Domino come up short. Where have I heard this before?
Yeah, and honestly, this was the night that it looked like they were going to get it done. I think this, from a tag team wrestling standpoint, probably the best I've seen DL Hurst and Brett Domino actually work as a tag team unit. But unfortunately, Anthony Green, Ava Everett, too much for them on this night. And it's always a joy to have Anthony Green in Orono. It kind of feels like a homecoming because for a lot of the OG Limitless fans, it's very cool to see him back in this building when we know where he is now. He's made so many strides as a professional wrestler and one of, if not the best in the Northeast right now.
And just a good dude.
Just a good dude. So it's
you want to take a moment and put over his promotion here?
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? 01 Northeast is going to debut this August. I don't have the fucking date in front of me. You kind of threw this on me, but I've been talking to AG for, it's got to be a couple months now. He's wanted to do this. He's wanted to have some sort of promotion. He's just wanted to provide something different, especially in his area of Massachusetts. This is running right near his hometown, Massachusetts. So check out 01 Northeast. The talent so far, some really cool people involved with the show. Nunzio, Simon Grimm, Anthony Green, Ava Everett, Sumi Sakai. The list goes on. He's had a ton of talent announcements so far. Danny Miles is a cool one too, because Danny Miles, when he went to Japan 10 years ago, it was actually 401. So now that Anthony Green has an extension off the 01 brand, it's kind of cool that Danny Miles is going to be on this first show as well. So Anthony Green's promotion, it's going to be fucking awesome. Definitely follow them on social media, and we'll have some updates for you too, because I'm going to be there that night. So it'll be a fun time.
Well, this was a fun match, and AG gets the win with his girl, Ava Everett. Intermission happens. Then the show stealer, Randy.
Chill out.
Let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Aiden Agro defeated, quote unquote,
quote
Matt
unquote
Daniels. With myself, this was my return to Maine. It was a hellacious trip, but I wanted to be there for my guy, Mac Daniels. It was a lot of fun. And I say quote unquote because Aiden Agro might have been the one standing tall at the end of the match, but this was a victory for Mac Daniels in my eyes. I thought he showed up, showed out, and got everyone's attention. What did you think of the match?
I agree with you, and this is a pretty cool, moment for not only Aiden Agro, but myself, Alexander Lee, anyone really involved in the Limitless Dojo, because Mac Daniels is one of the day one guys of the Limitless Dojo when we opened up back in November. He was one of the first people to actually sign up for the monthly courses, and then he's been, attending ever since. We've talked about him a few times on this podcast before, and he's just been one consistently putting in the work. And he had his debut in March, tag match with Frank Yeager. We saw how that ended up, and we saw, anyone who was following on Facebook saw how we led into this match with Aiden Agro, his trainer. I think it was the perfect circumstance for a first singles match for Mac Daniels, especially where he's being able to wrestle his trainer, who he's, in the ring with once a week. It really provided for a very, very good showing for Mac Daniels in his first ever singles match, which is obviously, everything you can hope for someone in their first ever singles match. He did a great job. I think that the dynamic with him and you as a unit was very, very cool. Something I wish we could do more. And I think the crowd really took to it too. And I think it helps, especially in a scenario where it is his first match. This is his first time really, having the time to command a crowd with, more than, 5 minutes allotted to a match. So I think the dynamic of you with him definitely helped the process along. But a very good match, showed he can hang, and it showed what he can do in a single scenario, and I was very impressed by it.
I was so proud of this match. I really was, because he really wanted to go out there and steal the show.
Yeah.
And there are things that he needs to do better, and he knows it. I mean, it's why he lost. He knows there's things he needs to do better. I tried to do all I could for him. I went all out. And
you crushed your hairbrush for him.
My hairbrush is entirely crushed on Aiden Agro's fat skull. It was destroyed. And of course you freaking stuck Greenleaf out there. So typical.
Of course I did. What do you think? The whole point of bringing you up here was to hear banter between you and Eric Greenleaf. So
there was plenty of that. That's for sure.
I couldn't understand his, but
because he has no teeth. But it was particularly very cool for me because, look, I only started managing 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, something like that. And I was always kind of the student of the game and tried to treat myself like that. And then for here, I got to almost act as a mentor. And I really did take that beyond this story of just what we were trying to tell. I really sat down with Mac Daniels and we really went over how can we go about maximizing what you're going to do in this match and coming out on top and pulling the most out of this crowd, because we had a goal. The crowd didn't really respond that much to Mac Daniels when he turned on Frank Yeager, or even when he made his entrance in this match. And by the end of this match,
they just didn't know who he was yet. Yeah.
And by the end of this match, they all know who Mac Daniels is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was really cool for me. And I was exhausted. Do you think the crowd enjoyed having me back?
I do, yeah. I think they really enjoyed it, and it's also a different, it's a different thing because we haven't really dove into like managers in Let's Wrestle yet.
Yeah.
So I also think that was a cool spin on the match in general. But yeah, I do think it was a delight for a lot of the fans because a lot of these fans, like these same fans in Orono, are the same ones who watched you, whether it was in Brewer, Westbrook, Portland. They've seen you the times that you've been here. So it was a cool little homecoming.
Even when I told them that I didn't miss them at all?
Yeah, I don't know how they felt about that, but I mean, that was a little cruel, but that's you. So they knew it was coming.
Well, all I can say is, again, I hope you drop this match on the YouTube page at some point because I think it's a match that people need to be familiar with because I think Mac Daniels, and I don't say this just because he's my friend, I don't say, even with the miscommunication that we had, I firmly believe that he is going to be a big-time star in Let's Wrestle. So I hope to see what comes from him. Angel Sinclair defeated Sierra.
This one, I assume you didn't get to see much of this one because you got walloped.
I did get beat up a little bit and then told the crowd I'd see them in hell, so I was not going back out there. So
I didn't get to catch much of this match. I was downstairs for most of it. I did come up, however, to see Angel Sinclair score a victory over Picture Perfect Sierra, which makes her the second of two Platinum Honeys to defeat Sierra in 2 straight months in Let's Wrestle. And I think that got under Sierra's skin a little bit as she walloped Angel Sinclair after the match, which prompted Ava Everett to scurry in from commentary and attempt to throw some blows at Sierra. Sierra made a run for it, but interesting challenge laid down by Ava Everett of the Platinum Honeys. She said if Sierra can find herself a partner or find someone who can tolerate her, at least for a tag team match, to get a partner and face Angel Sinclair and Ava Everett on July 20th. So that is confirmed. If Sierra can find herself a partner, we are doing that tag team match at the 1-year anniversary of Let's Wrestle.
It will not be me.
No? You're not going to take on the Platinum? No, fuck, dude. I would love to see you get speared out of your boots by Angel Sinclair, actually.
Sure you would.
I would. I think it would be tight.
This match was absolutely insane, to no one's surprise. Owen Brody and Mike McCarthy, the masshole Mike McCarthy, in the Syndicate Gauntlet. Owen Brody picks up the win here. The Syndicate were nuts in this match.
Syndicate were nuts, but I don't know if this was one of the first times that I've really felt like I don't know if the unit was 100% on the same page.
No, they definitely were not. When I say nuts, I mean they're crazy, these guys.
They'll do whatever it takes to get the win.
Exactly. And we saw them a couple months back in that match that you put up online as well with the Main State Posse. They're willing to do anything. And they were willing to do it again here. But like you said, not entirely on the same page.
No, and this is, regardless of what happened throughout the match, it is good for the Syndicate to walk out of this with a W after, suffering defeat to the Main State Posse. But, they had this gauntlet set up against Mike McCarthy. It almost feels like sure thing victory for the Syndicate. However, we see, Murdoch gets eliminated very quickly due to, I don't know how to phrase this the best, but he puked because he ate a booger. And it wasn't his booger. It was Mike McCarthy's booger. So, 20 years of punk crust on that thing.
It was gross.
It was gross, yeah. And it was, visible from where I was standing. So that's a gnarly one. And then, B.A. Tatum, I don't know if B.A. Tatum really was feeling the match, kind of slipping away from him with McCarthy, but he ends up just walloping McCarthy with a chair, causing the disqualification. The ref then throws Tatum and Murdoch out of here. So we have as even as it could get, even though McCarthy's, gone through 6 or 7 minutes of punishment from Tatum. He gets Owen Brody one-on-one, and
they killed each other.
They killed each other, and Mike McCarthy, legitimately looked like he was going to walk out of this with a victory. However, Owen Brody's still stealing it in the end.
There was a spike suplex spot on the outside.
Yeah, from the ring to the floor.
It was insane.
Yeah,
it was insane, and you heard a thud. It was ugh.
They went all out, and Mike McCarthy. I called Alec Price a low-key MVP of Let's Wrestle. Mike McCarthy, I would say, is the what am I saying? MVP, not
MVP.
VIP.
No.
The MVP of Let's Wrestle, because McCarthy just show in and show out. I watched his match with Mick Moretti from April earlier today. All of his matches in Let's Wrestle, just really, really fun stuff. And I think he's having the run of his life right now. I've been watching Mike McCarthy for a long time. I would say probably 7 or 8 years. And I would say he's in the run of his life right now. And unfortunately did not get a win on this night. But you damn well know he's going to be back on the 20th for Let's Wrestle. And you damn well know that probably the future is pretty bright for him in Let's Wrestle. Because, in my opinion, if this syndicate gauntlet doesn't happen and it's just him and Owen Brody one-on-one, I don't know. I mean, after watching him, after 6 or 7 minutes of punishment with Owen Brody, a fresh Mike McCarthy versus Owen Brody, I think he could get it done.
Well, Owen Brody said that Calvin Strange owed him something, so he wanted to watch the main event quite closely, so he stuck by ringside to watch Calvin Strange defeat Davian to win the Let's Wrestle Championship. I was on commentary for this match. It was brutal, man. I mean, their backs, especially Davian's back, was red as hell. And there were a lot of suplexes. They beat each other up. And then it looked like there was some mutual respect shown at the end when Calvin Strange wins that championship, but then everything unfolded for him. Owen Brody wants a shot at it. The Danger Kid wants a shot at it. So now we've got a triple threat main event for the Let's Wrestle Championship in July. A lot to unpack here, but your guy, Calvin Strange, whether you like it or not, he's now the Let's Wrestle champion.
Yeah, and, whether I like him or I don't, I got to hand it to Calvin Strange, because what a performance this was. What a battle with Davian, as we knew it would be. Davian, really every match that she's had in Let's Wrestle can certainly be classified as a battle.
Let's tell the crowd this match almost didn't happen because Davian and her car got there very late.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Davian and Sierra.
It was pretty close to intermission that they got there.
Yeah, I think it was either just before or during the Anthony Green tag team match. But we had contact with them throughout the day. We knew that they were running a little late, so I wasn't too stressed about it. But this one was a battle. Calvin Strange walking out victorious, ending Davian's reign. Davian has been champion since Let's Rumble in January, so ending the reign of Not America's Sweetheart. And then, as you said, Calvin owed Owen Brody a favor, and that's true, because we saw Calvin Strange, who was originally supposed to face the Main State Posse April 20th. He backed out of that match, got the Syndicate to do the dirty work for him. The Syndicate, unfortunately, could not get the job done for Calvin Strange, but regardless, Calvin Strange still owes Owen Brody a favor, and Owen Brody hit the ring to claim that favor in a Let's Wrestle Championship match, and then Danger Kid hits the ring, and Danger Kid, I think, has really more pull with anyone in this championship situation, as he's defeated Calvin Strange and been the only man to pin Calvin Strange in a Let's Wrestle ring, and he's defeated the Syndicate. They defeated the Syndicate in April in a Main State Street fight. So with Danger Kid defeating both of them in recent months, it only made sense to make this a triple threat match for the Let's Wrestle Championship. So it is confirmed, July 20th, Orono, Maine, the 1-year anniversary of Let's Wrestle. Calvin Strange defends the Let's Wrestle Championship against Danger Kid and Owen Brody.
So there you go. There you have it. It was a heck of a show. Just one of those, again, Let's Wrestle, you got a lot of hungry talent who want to show out and show up. And I think they did. I really think they did.
This is one of my top to bottom, one of my favorite Let's Wrestle shows. Just from the live experience alone. I haven't really watched much back from this show yet, but from the live experience alone and from everything I was hearing from fans, this is a very fun one, top to bottom.
Also, by the way, watched some of it back via some fan video. As I make my entrance, you're flipping me off. What the hell is that about?
You might have me confused with another tie-dye shirt wearing gentleman, because I don't think I would do such a thing to you.
I think both of you did.
Both of me.
That's what the camera looked like.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I had some help. I was being encouraged. That's really the thing, is I was in a bad scenario. A lot of guys, I saw a lot of birds being flipped your way, and it was kind of just wanted to join the club. You know how it goes.
Yeah, whatever. Let's Wrestle. Check out the next show in July. It will be well worth your time. Another edition of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast in the books. Randy, anything else you want to add?
Nothing from here, man. Let's get some suggestions. What do you guys want to hear for topics for next week? I'd love to cover a show in depth that we haven't talked about in a while. So if you have any suggestions, tweet us at LWMain. Let us know.
Let's do it. Let's wrestle. See you guys next time.